Is this a podcast? Dun, dun, dun. I like to think that it's not. I was hearing I heard a conversation the other day about podcasting, and like one of the things that one of the motherfuckers was saying was like, "Do podcasts suck?" And their answers I didn't even listen to, but I started thinking about it by myself, and I'm like, I guess it depends on the podcast, right? Like, because I feel like for like celebrities or like even like close to celeb, it's like easy, you know what I'm saying? Like you already have, you already got a following, you already got whatever, so you could just like hop right in, and people that already fuck with you are gonna fucking watch it or listen to it regardless. But I also think that there's a lot of podcasts out there that are like lesser known, like the people are lesser known, like they're not celebrities and shit like that. I mean, we're in the age of like get behind the camera. If you got the right charisma, then it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we see that shit every day. So I don't think podcasts suck in the sense of like motherfuckers like every podcast you listen to is just trash. There's a whole bunch of podcasts that are dope. Crime joints, spiritual shit. You got your social media shit. Like everybody knows, you know what I'm saying, the top podcasts and all that. I don't have to name them. But I don't think they suck. I do think that the follow the leader game is what sucks. Like a podcast. I'm gonna make a podcast. I'm gonna make a podcast. I'm gonna make it. And then it's just like you get people who have specialized skills in certain shit or research certain shit. You know what I'm saying? And then they come out and they real dope with it. But then you got motherfuckers that like do the same thing and they suck. You know what I'm saying? Like it's trash. So then it'll turn people off to like the whole genre or the whole podcast. Then you got like dope storytellers. So it's like everything doesn't even have to be a podcast. You could just be a person who knows how to tell a story. And you could take stories that are actually true and tell them shits. You know what I'm saying? And then you do that. People might just like listening to the way that you tell a story. You know what I'm saying? Like I was walking down the street one day and then a dog ran up to me and it started talking. But like people thought it was barking. But to me, it was like, yo, dude, you need to listen to my mixtape. And I was like, what? And then he's like, yo, look. And then he showed me on my own phone in Apple Music his mixtape and went about his business and I went about mine. Now, if that story was compelling in a way to make people say that didn't happen, then you got him right there. Because why would somebody even think that it did? But did it? We don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that the way that you convey shit, the way you tell shit, the way you move, kind of determines what your shit would be and how people receive you. So I think that if you really don't understand it, of course you're going to be like, man, podcasts suck. You know what I'm saying? Or even have that question, especially if if somebody puts you onto a joint and you say you listen to one already, and then somebody puts you onto another one, you listen to that shit and you're like, man, that shit is trash. And you listen to another one, you're like, that's trash. But then even besides that, everybody in your circle is doing a podcast now. And these are not like, and I don't want to sound a certain way, but quote unquote podcast worthy people. Like these are just people that you have conversations with. And then you're like, well, we're funny and we're like informative. So we should get on camera and do that shit. And then it's like the pot calling the kettle black because who the fuck am I to say that shit? And I'm on the camera doing the same thing. But I don't know. Like, there's certain things where it's like, I've always been into the entertainment shit. Like, I've always written some shit. Not me personally, but just somebody in general. Well, me personally, but also motherfuckers in general. Like, they've been on that shit. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. You got to respond to texts promptly if it's certain motherfuckers. If not, look at me. I'm bullshit. It's not. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, my whole point is that if you really are about what you do in that arena, so like you might do music. So if you do a podcast about music, it makes sense. People who fuck with you are like, yo, this nigga does music. So of course I'm gonna listen to that. Even if you don't do a podcast about music, you're charismatic. They're like, I like this motherfucker as an artist. I would definitely listen to what they gotta say, whether it makes sense or not. You know what I'm saying? So like me, I don't think podcasts suck. I think it's the motherfuckers who do them. You know what I'm saying? If you do the shit and you do it right, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, right? If you do it in a way that I guess people fuck with and pick up on, it's gonna be dope and your podcast doesn't suck. But if you do it in a way that's trash, it's gonna be trash. You know what I'm saying? But I like to have people in imagination land. Like if you ever watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, anybody that's familiar with that shit, that might be dating myself, as they say, right? But if you ever watch that shit, there's like the little imagination train. So in imagination land, make-believe people ask you questions. And some make-believe people ask me, you know what I'm saying, how do I feel about flaws within. Not only grammatically is that a fucked up way to ask a question, because what? But I'll answer it by saying that I think that a lot of times we think that we know ourselves, even when we're finding ourselves. So it's like, I know I got to find myself. But so in me trying to find myself, I know myself. Like I know a part of myself. I know I need to find myself. So that is obviously admitting like, yo, I'm here for me. So I'm there. You know what I'm saying? But I think that we hit certain milestones sometimes as people, and we think that we really, really do know ourselves. And it's like, it's really hard to look at yourself from the other side, yo. It's really like, as much as a person would want to think that like, yeah, I really know who I am, I really understand me, like there's nobody that can tell me anything about me, and if they say something otherwise, then they're against me. That's like, that right there is showing you don't know yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can really look at yourself from the other side, be objective, and understand that like, maybe you could chill on doing some shit that you don't think you need to chill on because you've worked on other areas. So it's like, I worked on my frontal, you know what I'm saying, but I ain't work on nothing back here. And since I ain't work on nothing back here, I'm not even acknowledging that shit. But I think because everything up here is cool, everything all over the place is cool. But you're not seeing yourself on the other side. You know what I'm saying? You're not, just hit myself in the face, but you're not seeing yourself on the other side. You're not seeing what, you know, the public or the people that are in your life have to deal with or have to do, you know what I'm saying, when you come around and when you talk. And I guess the way we say things, right? Because if you say the people in your life have to deal with, then a motherfucker's gonna be like, what do you mean they have to deal with? Like, have to deal with? Like, what, am I somebody you have to deal with? But it's like, we have to deal with people we choose to deal with. If you choose to deal with them, you have to deal with them. But that doesn't mean that you're dealing with them like there's something to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just means that whatever your character traits are, whoever you are, whatever your demeanor is, however you move, like, motherfuckers gotta deal with that. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know certain parts about you, certain quirks, because we all have them, then when a person says something to you about it, you're gonna be in defense mode. I suffer from that shit. I'm sure everybody else has suffered from that shit. Like, it's a thing that when you're on the road of finding out who you are, which is a lifelong lesson, it's something you just gotta understand. And you have to, when you're able to look at that shit and not feel any type of way about it from coming from yourself, I think that's when like a milestone is reached. So like, from make-believe person number one, you know, I think that I can't, let me read the question again. It wasn't even a question, it was a sentence fragment. But flaws within self. You know what I'm saying? I think that once you really, really understand how you're trying to find yourself, you can find the flaws within yourself, and you could turn them into, you know, grace. You know what I'm saying? Turn a flaw into a flex. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. But I think that you can do that when you're really genuinely on that road. You know what I'm saying? I think when you do that, you can accept those flaws, and that's dope. Imaginary person number two, what do you have to say? Finding old shit that's worth money. Interesting. Funny thing about that is I actually have, I don't know where it is right now, but I found a copy of the book Roots. You know what I'm saying? Give us free roots, like roots, the roots. And in that book, there's an autograph from Alex Haley. You know what I'm saying? A real autograph, genuine draft. You know what I'm saying? Like, genuinely. And it's like, I found that shit, and immediately I turned into like a collector. Like, I'm like, oh shit, nigga, let me get on every single website. Let me get on every eBay, Craigslist, whatever the fuck. And then let me also look at these collectible joints. Let me read about. I started turning into a connoisseur, nigga. I put my glasses on, had the little motherfucking feather with the quill. I was writing shit. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm writing. I'm just writing shit because I'm studying about this book. And I'm like, it has to be worth money. Hold on, let me light this blunt. So I'm like, it has to be worth money, right? Like, it has to be. It's Alex Haley, bro. It's Roots. I think it's like a first edition. Maybe it's a second edition. I don't know. It's an Alex Haley edition. You know what, motherfucker? Like, but I'm like, it's got to be worth money. Then I start thinking about like the actual value of the book itself. Like, it's Roots. You know what I'm saying? Now, mind you, I'm not really with the like glorifying slavery thing, but I'm saying that what Roots has to do with, you know, a lot of shit, historical, non-historical, social, all that. And Alex Haley himself, being that he actually like put a pen to paper on this book, you know what I'm saying, for somebody in my family or whatever, you know, it was, wow, it's crazy radio. It's a real like dope find. I'm like, do I really want to get rid of this shit? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I've had it for some years, like since I've actually found it, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I haven't decided to get rid of it because I feel like it's something worth keeping. What else? Beanie Baby. I also found like I think it's like a second edition Beanie Baby whales or waves or one of them two. It's a killer whale, and I still got the tag on it and all that shit. So as soon as I found that, immediately I started watching the old Beanie Baby documentary. I started looking up like how much like which ones are first edition, which ones are second edition. Like I started looking up everything that had to do with Beanie Babies. I started seeing how much, and then it's like you never really get like a definitive price, but even when you do, it's always some bullshit. Like I think I got like on eBay, I found one of them maybe for like 200 or something like that. But like they don't even all sell for that, and that's not even a lot. So then like all that stuff comes back down to like, do I even want to sell it for that shit? Like there was a time that I collected Pokemon cards and I had a binder full of like all of them. And then I think about that shit now and I'm like, damn, if I still had that, you know how much money that would be worth? Like how many times are we saying if I still had that? Like the fact that I know that I knew this my whole life, there was a huge warehouse full of all the old toys that you have, because even look now, they're reissuing shit. So you're like, yo, if I would have had like that old first generation Ghostbusters in like the original packaging, yeah, it'll probably be worth some money. But at the same time, they're re-releasing the motherfuckers right now. Even if they change like the back and it says like released in 2023, it's still the same exact toy. Like it's the same. They didn't even take it out of the box. Like they just like maybe sliced off the back and put another back on there. But it's the same exact toy, make and model. So what would the difference be if you like pulled up with an original old one, but they still got the original old ones on sale now? So it's like a lot of that shit is weird. You know what I'm saying? Then you got like comics. I think like right here I have Iron Fist, right? This is from what? It's 60 cents. I don't even fucking know. I think it might be from like the 70s or some shit. But it's an Iron Fist Power Man. I was about to say Iron Man Power Fist. But you know what I'm saying? And you would think like, not just because it's in this packaging, but you would be like, yo, this has to be worth something. Like they don't even have the comic code. That comic code doesn't exist anymore. And I'm saying I got a lot of comic books that are old and have that on them. But there's like certain shit that you would just be like, damn, I know this is worth money. And then it's worth nothing. So I think spelunking and finding shit that's worth money, spelunking and finding shit that's possibly worth money is dope. And if you actually ever find like a gold mine, I guess you should really like think about it and be careful if you want to sell it, because it might be worth more later, or you might just regret that shit. Like who knows? You know what I'm saying? And yo, that's it from the imaginary friend gallery today. And like, you know, any other imaginary people, if you fucking catching this shit in whatever dimension you be in, you know, hit me with your questions and shit. Real people too. You know what I'm saying? Just imaginary people, you know, they ask questions in fragments, which is funny to decode sometimes. But that is all the time I have for y'all today on Is This a Podcast? Not really. Nep Rex, over and out.